check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Are my legs looking awkward? Should I like put them down or?
No.
Okay. Okay. It's gonna be delicious.
Humboldt Park is a neighborhood located on the west side of Chicago. It's named after the 200-acre green space that was created when most residents were German. Today, it's world famous for being a mecca of Puerto Rican culture.
What's good, YouTube? It's LUISGUSTO. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're in Humboldt Park, Chicago on a beautiful autumn day. And in this film, we're gonna go on a tour of the neighborhood, stop at some of the best restaurants and coffee shops, plus give you everything you need to know about this west side Chicago neighborhood. But before we get into it, you know the vibes. Go ahead and finesse that like button and subscribe for more travel content. Our day in Humboldt Park starts off with a stop to Café Colao. They've been around since 2002 right here on Paseo Boricua. So they're not quite as old school as some of the other businesses in the neighborhood, but they definitely fit the vibe and the spirit of the neighborhood to a T. You walk inside and it's just a Puerto Rican vibe. Salsa playing, Puerto Rican memorabilia. They got Humboldt Park gear that you can pick up. Speaking of pickups, I picked up a couple of coffees. Y'all know me, I gotta get my black coffee. I got Narissa a Café Colao with almond milk, and I was just gonna get the coffees to be honest, but then I saw a tray of pastries straight from the oven. So we're gonna have some pastries, drink our coffee, and kick this day off on the right foot.
This is gonna be such a great day in the neighborhood. I get to experience some of Luis's culture and start the day off with Puerto Rican coffee and pastries.
So this is a pastelillo de guayaba. It's a flaky pastry with some guava jelly inside, powdered sugar on top. One of my favorite pastries in the whole world, and it's perfect in the morning, especially with some coffee.
I don't think I've had anything like that. Maybe a Puerto Rican version of a cheese Danish.
Humboldt Park is community area number 23, but believe it or not, the namesake park actually sits in the Westtown community area. It's about 6 miles from the loop, and the official borders are Bloomingdale Avenue on the north, the Union Pacific Railroad tracks on the south, the train tracks between Cicero and Constantine on the west, and the park on the east. On a more personal note, Humboldt Park is very meaningful to me because this is where the majority of my family grew up here in Chicago, including my parents. Matter of fact, my grandma's house was just down the street right here on Division. Because there are no CTA train stations in Humboldt Park, we took the 70 bus out west to get here. There are a couple of metro stops near the neighborhood, but the physically closest CTA train station is the Pulaski Green Line stop. You may be wondering why such a prominent area of the city has no L train service. It might even irritate you a bit. If it does, I don't blame you, but I have some even more irritating news to share. There used to be a Humboldt Park branch of the L train. The tracks actually ran through the alley just north of North Avenue. The National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture was established in 2000 and is the only such museum in the entire country dedicated to showcasing Puerto Rican art and culture year-round. It's housed in this very German building, which is actually the historic Humboldt Park Receptory and Stable, by the way, a Chicago landmark. This building has been sitting in the park since the late 1800s and was once, a stable. Park officials used to park their horses right in here. There are actually a couple of horse statues to commemorate this. Admission is completely free. The staff is extremely friendly, and they have some beautiful exhibits that rotate regularly, as well as an exhibit dedicated entirely to Jens Jensen, the designer of Humboldt Park. We'll talk about him later in the film. And I highly recommend visiting this museum. Get some Puerto Rican culture in your life. The Humboldt Park branch had stops at the Park, St. Louis, Lawndale, Kinsey, Western California, and the original plan was to extend it all the way to Harlem. But the CTA used low ridership as an excuse to destroy the tracks and stations. It turned out to be one of the most short-sighted decisions in Chicago history. I can almost guarantee you that if the Humboldt Park branch of the L still existed, it would be one of the most popular CTA train lines. Other CTA buses that serve Humboldt Park include the 49, 53, 66, 72, and 82. There are also several divvy stations located all over the neighborhood and park, so you definitely don't need a car to get around. It's lunchtime, so we stopped at Humboldt House. They specialize in deli sandwiches with all kinds of meats and cheeses, hearty toppings, not to mention freshly made bread. They're located on North Avenue and Humboldt Boulevard, right across the street from the park, and they're attached to a liquor store. So you can get a couple sandwiches, a little something to taste, go across the street to the park, and have a nice picnic overlooking those beautiful lagoons. This is the West Sider. It's turkey, pastrami, and Swiss. They have some really creatively named sandwiches. You have to see them for yourself. It's time to give this Humboldt House sandwich a bite. Humboldt Park neighborhood is interesting because it actually extends beyond the borders of the community area. In fact, Paseo Boricua lies entirely in Westtown, just like the park. Now this goes back to what I always say, the borders of Chicago neighborhoods are not an exact science. Nearby neighborhoods include Garfield Park, Hermosa, Austin, East Village, Ukrainian Village, and Wicker Park, which we covered in an earlier neighborhood guide. Up until the mid-19th century, much of Humboldt Park was prairie, even as the city of Chicago was founded. But in 1869, this area was annexed to the city, and that same year, the West Side Parks Commission began work on the green space we all know and love today. Café Pachuca is a Humboldt Park restaurant specializing in an English-Mexican fusion known as pastes, essentially empanadas. My favorite off the menu is the chicken and mole, and it's about that time of day, so I got myself an espresso as well. So cheers to that. Let's take a bite of this empanada. This landmark park is one of the crown jewels of Chicago. It's 200 acres of trees, lagoons, and winding paths. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places and was designed by two architects, William LeBaron-Jenny and Jens Jensen. Jenny trained in Paris and wanted a more French-style garden. When Jensen took over though, he transformed it into the more prairie-style setting that we have today. German residents of the area wanted the new park named after naturalist, scientist, and all-around cool dude, Baron Friedrich Heinrich Alexander von Humboldt. A bunch of homes were designed around the park and became among the hottest real estate in town. And did you know that back in the day, Humboldt Park even had a greenhouse conservatory? Unfortunately, it was poorly maintained, then destroyed in 1905. In 1886, streetcars made their debut in Humboldt Park, and 9 years later, the Metropolitan West Side Elevated Railroad Company extended out here. You would transfer to the aforementioned Humboldt Park branch via the Damon Blue Line station. Talk about cornerstones of the neighborhood. Roser's Bakery opened up on North Avenue in 1911 and have been here ever since. They specialize in cookies, donuts, cakes, homemade ice cream. They even serve coffee. Basically anything baked under the sun, come to Roser's for. You got a special event that you're planning for, you need cakes and pies and decorations, come to Roser's. I bet you're wondering what's in this box, huh? This famous yellow box. You can see people lining up in there. You gotta grab a number. Then they're coming out by the hundreds with boxes just like this. Well, this is a strawberry shortcake. We're celebrating Narissa's birthday, so time to go eat. Before becoming a haven for Chicago Boricuas, Humboldt Park was known for its population that included Danish, Norwegian, German and Russian Jews, and Italian. But then in the 1960s, the demographics began to change. Puerto Ricans have been in Chicago since the early 19th century and were among the first victims of urban renewal. They were pushed out of neighborhoods like University Village, Old Town, and Lincoln Park. This of course didn't happen without a fight, but eventually Humboldt Park became home to one of the largest Puerto Rican populations on the planet. Bloomingdale Trail is the second longest railway to green space conversion in the entire world at 2.7 miles. It was originally built in 1873 and 7 years later was given over to the Chicago, St. Paul, Milwaukee, and Pacific Railroad Company via a 999-year lease. Somehow the city of Chicago got them out of that lease and in 2013 converted it into this beautiful green space we have today. To commemorate this cultural heritage, in 1995, community members worked with city officials to designate a stretch of Division Street between Western and California as Paseo Boricua. Two 59-foot-tall Puerto Rican flags were erected, each weighing 45 tons. Every single year, Puerto Rican festivals and parades take place right here in Humboldt Park, continuing that tradition that began in the 1960s. Dinner tonight is at Rootstock Wine and Beer Bar. They've been around since 2009 right here in Humboldt Park at the corner of Augusta and California. They really focus on local farmers and small productions. We started off with some boquerones. We ordered a pear cider that comes all the way from France. Narissa ordered some mussels for her birthday and I got the burger. Let's go. Really good. Rootstock to me is a place to bring a date, to come with friends, to celebrate like we are celebrating Narissa's birthday today. It's a nice upscale spot that's not gonna break the bank, which is kind of what we're all about on this channel, you know, that low-key luxurious vibe. And even Rowdy's with us and he agrees. 2 paws up. There is nothing quite like a great cocktail bar with a good atmosphere and fantastic drinks. The High-Low is Humboldt Park's newest such bar right here on California. I got myself a frozen Spanish rosé. This has 2 different types of sherry, manzanilla and amontillado. Nerissa got the citrus forward with sake and prosecco. You know what I say to that? Salud. Y'all know the deal. It's cold outside and I need something even colder, Chicago style. Eventually, more Latinos began moving to Humboldt Park along with African Americans. And more recently, the demographics have shifted once again. This is certainly the nature of cities, but what's important is maintaining and preserving the historic charm of neighborhoods like Humboldt Park. And in 2021, this legacy was cemented as Illinois passed a state bill designating this stretch of Division Street as Puerto Rico Town. Wepa! Peace and blessings. I think that's it.